Hello, hello, hello! We are recording! And yes, it is that part of the game. The part with the objections and the gavel banging and the desk slapping. Though please don't hurt your hands if you're going to do that. Because I did that once and it hurt my hand really bad. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I am Mod. This is part 3 of this set of games called Who Framed Alibi by Miohn-Rouls. If you haven't listened to the first 2, go away. Go listen to the first 2. You're gonna be spoiled, and it'll suck. Okay, and here are my 2 lovely players who are gonna introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is CarttonKitsune, and I will be playing Ida Sliff, who is a spirit medium and legal aid.
And I'm Smaranth, and I'm playing Griffin Left, who is a lawyer and a legally distinct character.
Yeah. And I am playing many characters. So many. But the first and foremost of these is the character that is your defendant. And I think we're going to open straight in the defense lobby, as is traditional. You've walked here. It's not too difficult to get here. It's downhill rather than uphill in this hilly place. And even though it's summer, like, it's been foggy this morning, and you know, it's that kind of mist that like sort of foretells it's going to be a really hot day usually and burn off, but it doesn't seem to have gone away, and it's a bit cool and claggy, and perhaps reflects how confused everybody is, because the Eye of Truth usually provides its own sort of latent protection from chaos and crimes and things like that, and also, if there are ever court cases, which there very rarely are, is like a dead cert. Like, you know who's done it, and it's like all over in 5 minutes. And this is not the case today, which may explain why there are more people than usual actually turning up to be in the gallery, which is, I don't know, how are you guys feeling about that?
I mean, Griffin's usually pretty nervous, but this isn't the first kind of spectacle of a trial they've been involved in.
This ain't our first rodeo.
I see. So coming in it like with your worldly expertise is one thing. There's a person who's looking like this isn't within his realm of expertise. In fact, he looks very different from the previous times you've seen this guy. Alibi looks like a total mess.
Aww.
He's like stressed. He's barely like keeping back the tears. He looks like he had like no sleep. And he is just kind of, yeah. He's not even talking. Like, usually you can't stop him. And it's like, shut up. Okay, we get it, with the sarcasm. But, like, no, he's just, like, really anxious. He's not good.
Aw, buddy.
You gonna do anything to console your client?
Well...
I mean, like, Ida's definitely, like, gonna go up to him and, like, if he'll allow it, she'll, like, kind of give him, like, a little pat on the shoulder, like, hey, come on, cheer up, Mr. Miohn-Rouls. I mean, the trial hasn't even started yet.
Give me some warning before you touch me. Okay. Well, but I shouldn't even...
Sorry.
Yes, I'm sure you are, but this doesn't make any sense. I shouldn't even be here. Things should have been finished by now. You found out who done it, right?
Not exactly.
But you have a fairly good idea.
Actually, I have no idea. I'm looking over everyone we've met, and honestly, I have no idea.
In this very toonish way, he seems to sort of, like, with every hopeful input, it just gets dashed, and he seems to shrink, and he seems to be kind of, like, slightly pooling in a sort of loosey-goosey sort of a fashion, and his head just, like, flops forward, and he's like, I knew it. It's a setup. They're all in on it.
I mean,
I'm doomed. Just say it. Just be honest.
You're not doomed yet. You didn't do it, and we should be able to prove that today. I mean, theoretically, we don't actually need to prove who did it. I mean, normally we do, but legally speaking, we shouldn't have to. And we have a decent amount of evidence. We have reason. We have reason to know you didn't do it. We should be able to pull this off, or at least get another trial day.
Pull this off! I want you to win with absolute certainty, like everything else has been in my life. And he sort of like grabbed a hold of your trouser leg because he's shrunk so much, and he's like shaking it back and forth, like, you're supposed to be the best.
Hey, come on, that's enough of that. Look, crying and moping before the trials even started, that's not gonna help us at all. So come on, pick yourself up. Alright, can she just like kind of like, I don't know, like pick him up, or like, I don't know, pick him up like a little bit, just like look her in the eye.
Yeah, sure. You can also do something like, you could roll persuasion or use a bit of magic, because I will say this is going to be your last opportunity before we go into court, and there's a reason for that.
I was gonna say she's kind of talking a bit because I want to have her cast a motivational speech on both him and Griffin.
Good choice. Yes, please do that.
And for those of you in the audience, so mechanically, it'll give both of them 5 temporary HP, and they'll have advantage on wisdom saving throws. And if an affected creature is hit by an attack, it has advantage on the next attack roll it makes, which probably won't come up like in the court unless the prosecution is equipped with a whip or something. But like, when would that ever happen, right, guys?
Yeah. No. Who knows? Who knows who the prosecutor is? You all do. And I think that works a bit. I think he bucks up a little bit and realizes he's being a snivelling drip and sort of does sort of manage to straighten himself out slightly, which is just as well with the timing, because there's some well-wishers who have come to see you. Oh, hello. How are you today?
Oh, it's the incredible Mr. Hat.
Oh, it is. Hello.
You get into the defense lobby. Hello.
Oh, well, I didn't know I wasn't allowed in here. Haha, I did. Anyway, I thought I would give you a present.
Ooh, present?
Yes. Do you want it?
Okay, much appreciated.
Yeah.
He holds a parcel forth, and you can tell that this isn't really in his programming, because he's a merchant. He's supposed to sell things or exchange things, so you have a bit of trouble getting it out of his hands, but you can extract it, and it proves itself to be the book that you found the information on, that seeing stone that you have in your possession now.
Ooh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Here's a book about many things, mostly rocks.
Alright.
I thought that it could be helpful because the thing is about a rock.
Yeah, can I flip through this to see if the Eye of Truth is mentioned in here as well?
Absolutely, and yeah, you thumb through it pretty easily. It's alphabetical, don't worry about it. And it is, yeah, as the whatever I called him, Incredible Mr. Hat says, it does in fact have many rocks in it. There are many different kinds of stones, and it does have a little entry on the Eye of Truth. Sorry, I'm just putting up a picture of Mr. Hat in case nobody's seen this guy, but you should have, because you should have been in the previous game. Yes, it says Eye of Truth, unseen by those who are not deemed monks of the Order of Veracity. So this confirms what you've heard from other people, like basically you have to be a pretty trusted member of the Order of Veracity to even be allowed in the same room. But it says reputed to have truth encouraging. I haven't written this, so I'm making this bullshit up. Sorry. Professional. Truth. What the hell is a word for like makes it happen? Fuck.
Truth telling?
Yeah, kinda. Truth creating powers. of that sort of stuff. It basically repeats what I told you in the previous games. So like if you need to refer to it or to the sing stone or to some other kind of stone, you can present this as evidence, and it will back you up on the facts that are largely known by the public. So that might be useful, or it might not, you don't know. Anyway, Mr. Hat waves you goodbye and wobbles off into the gallery, and there are some other people drifting around in here that you might recognise. Is there anyone you want to say hello to before you end up getting shoved into court?
I think I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I don't see anyone in particular. Yeah, there's no one in particular that Griffin wants to talk to right now, I don't think.
Oh, how convenient, because the bailiff comes in and says, "All right, time to go in."
All right,
You can tell they're very professional in this place with that kind of approach, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you file in.
Good luck, Mr. Miohn-Rouls.
Yeah, and you've got your
Alright.
you've got your little bonus, and as you go in, you feel a kind of like you're walking through a bubble. And this phenomenon has been explored in previous games, that there are some places which have a sort of magic anti-shield, or anti-magic shield rather, so that, you know, they're safe spaces. And, you know, in a court of law, that makes perfect sense, because not only do you not want people suddenly attacking each other, you know, that could kind of suck, basically, that could be a problem. But also, you know, there's spells like Charm, or Modify Memory, and, like, no, we ain't doing that here. So, basically, this is what you walk through. The only spell that's, like, basically accepted in courtrooms, or especially in this one, is Zone of Truth. But as y'all know, it's kind of been busted, so it's like there's no magic happening really in here right now. So I'm gonna give you a little preview of like what it's gonna be like, because yeah, D&D is a very good game. For AA games, it's a bit breaky, so I had to basically be like, I'm sorry guys, this isn't gonna be like D&D normal D&D, but like, if you come up with something really good and cool, I will probably let you do it anyway, because I like seeing cool things happen. But no, this is very much going to be, you listen to testimony, and you explore the testimony, point out contradictions, and you play it like that. So you can press on statements, and I will elucidate in as far as I can, especially with, you know, this is relative to what you are asking. There is no game dialogue, so you're gonna have to come up with questions. But you both, I think, at least have at least one inspiration point each, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I think we both got one for the step ladder tag, right?
Great, wonderful.
Oh god, yeah.
So those are gonna be basically like hint coins or a consult button. So if you're stuck, or you know, you get something wrong, instead of taking a hit, a penalty, like you will burn up one of those coins if you wish, or you can take a penalty. If you take a penalty, we'll get to that. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine.
Hey, we had a long rest since
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
definitely, yeah. If you lost any hit points at all, you have all of them back. You've definitely had 8 hours of rest, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, the High Priestess did a lot of comfort damage to Griffin last time.
Yes.
And you falling down
I
the
forgot
stairs.
that. Yes, you did fall down the stairs. That was really good. Thank you for doing that. Okay, no, it's fine. You're all patched up. In fact, like, out of the three of you, Alibi still definitely looks the worst. You get the impression that he has never had to sleep in a jail before, and it was not comfortable, and he was also stressed. So, yeah, he looks ragged as hell.
Aw, buddy.
But you're okay. And it's a very interesting courthouse. It's very mixed, so there's real kind, there's Toonkind, there's a couple of Muppet Born at the back. It seems like basically everyone decided to come here today for their entertainment, which is a bit sick, but hey, it's the only thing that's happening, and everyone's a bit weirded out by the murder. So, yeah, it's quite excited. There's quite a lot of people going blah, 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 in the background here. And I take a sip of water because I have to do many voices as the barista. And you might think I'm saying that word wrong, but no, it's a barista because in Toon countries, like, law is so boring that they basically have to have a person who can make coffee on hand at all moments to keep people awake. So the barista says, "Arise for the Honourable Judge Judgington!" And the Honourable Judge Judgington walks into the courthouse, who is a real kind and sort of Father Christmassy sort of appearance. Y'all know, he's my favourite character.
Magnificent beard.
Yes, a magnificent beard. And he knocks his gavel and says, "Order! Are the defence and prosecution adequately prepared for the proceedings?"
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The prosecution is also ready.
And you have the prosecution facing you, who is an awful looking creature. Just like the worst colour combination. Tangerine dream, like painted on tan. Hideous shoes. I'm proud of how bad those shoes are. So this is Hugh G. Payne. Just like most people call him Mr. Payne, or just Payne. In the sometimes follows it. He's a prosecutor and is awful. You're gonna get to know him. So excellent. Due to these unusual situations, is everybody aware of the account for lack of zone of truth? Are you both prepared?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, eminently so.
Ugh.
Yeah. Actually, I want you both to make like a con save or a whiz save.
Okay, which of these am I good at?
Alright, my whiz save's better, so I'll do that. If we're actually like rolling for it.
I don't know if you've met any of this guy's relatives. You can make that canon or not. Like, you may just not know him.
Yeah, I think we've met some of his relatives. Or at least one. Yeah, probably just one so far.
Oh, whoa!
Wow, nat 20 for my first roll.
That's a fantastic roll. Oh, okay. With the 26, Ida, you're just not affected. This guy is nothing to you. Left, you feel like you've met this guy before, and it's kind of unnerving. And he's also just like, he's so awful and like unctuous and oily that you kind of feel your skin crawl slightly, and you're just gonna take like you're just gonna take 1 hit point of psychic damage just because he's so nasty. He's that off-putting.
Actually, wait, do you roll con or wisdom? Because like you have advantage on wisdom saves.
Oh,
which is
true.
dispelled. Actually, did that get dispelled like when we came in, or?
No, I'm gonna say that you kept that.
I rolled con because my wisdom is -1.
Oh,
Okay.
fun. Okay, well, if you rolled con, then we're gonna stick with that, and it's funny. So, from this, you may get a little preview, in fact, because, you didn't do so good on that. Just withstanding the aura of awfulness around this guy. If you guys take penalties from, like, presenting the wrong evidence or just saying something incredibly stupid, sometimes I won't. But if you do get a penalty, you will take psychic damage.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so there are stakes. There's also like a number of different ways this game can end. So don't freak out about it too much. But like,
oh no.
no. Like when there are key decisions, it will be quite apparent. It's like when you're playing the game, you're like, oh, it's one of those. So like, you'll know, and it is entirely up to you how you play it. I have written several endings, and we will see which one we end up with. It's fun. Okay. Very good. Okay, so, what do we do again? Oh, yes, prosecution's opening statement, please, Mr. Jazz. And the prosecution rubs his hands together and says, nah, I will get revenge for what you did to my cousins? Question mark? We haven't established the law. But anyway, the prosecution's stance is that the defendant won Mr. Alibi Miohn-Rouls. And he looks at Alibi with, like, just, you know, sort of glee. Like a fox about to eat a goose. In fact, like, Alibi just shrinks into his chair. He's like, oh god.
Mr. Alibi Miohn-Rouls murdered the victim, Shib Ito, a long-serving and highly respected monk at the Temple of Huntoni.
And you can hear the gallery going, like they're already on his side with this gruesome tale. And also they're used to, like, the person in the dock being guilty. So, tricky.
Having snuck into the inner sanctum in order to steal the Eye of Truth, a relic of great power, he was disturbed by Mr. Shibito, who was guarding the sacred anthem, and in a moment of panic, Mr. Miohn-Rouls then struck Mr. Ito with a weapon and fled the scene with the Eye of Truth, presumably disposing of the weapon after leaving the temple grounds.
The judge seems thoroughly impressed. Have you anything to say? You can talk to each other, by the way, remember. Like...
Yeah.
The defense's stance is that Mr. Miohn-Rouls is innocent of all charges. He has not committed murder. He did not steal the Eye of Truth. The defense further states that the prosecution has yet to produce anything resembling a murder weapon or to explain how exactly the Eye of Truth has been removed from the premises without being found in the search of our client or his room if he had in fact stolen it.
The judge nods and is equally impressed. Seems very easy to impress. You know, sort of a wide-eyed, sort of childlike view of the world. You feel like this could be to your benefit or detriment because he seems easily swayed. And indeed, he looks at Prosecutor Jez and says, well, have you anything to say as to the murder weapon?
As of this time, the police have been unable to retrieve anything that could be positively identified as such. According to the autopsy report, the victim suffered a blow to the head from a blunt object. Outside of this, there is nothing to indicate what the weapon used was, though, of course, I have my theories.
And at this point, the autopsy report is... Oh, sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, now I was gonna say, like speaking of that, can we have that? Because we haven't gotten a copy of that yet.
You would be so ill-prepared, but in my benevolence, I have produced a duplicate.
And he passes it to you, and you can positively, like, feel grease coming off him as he hands it to you. It's just like, it's the worst. Anyway, I'll post that in the game zone. And to summarise, the autopsy report currently states, victim was found face down in the water, body showed signs of being that way for a long time. The cause of death is thought, therefore, to be caused by drowning. Severe contusion due to a blow to the skull on top of the head, and the time of death is thought to be 7:45.
At this point, I may have to point out that this doctor is new to making autopsy reports, being local. They are waiting for a second opinion from an expert from overseas, some sort of highfalutin professor. I'm sure it won't change anything, though.
Can Ida just like kind of exchange a look with Griffin, like, yeah, we've done this before. If this thing gets updated, like.
Oh, this thing's definitely getting updated. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that all seems to be perfectly in order. Shall we proceed? The prosecution is allowed to call witnesses to the stand. I believe that you have two.
Yes, I would first call, however, the acting detective to summarize the findings of the police.
Do we have to?
I would think that we do, yes, Mr. Left.
Oh, I said that out loud. Sorry. Yes, of course. We have to speak to the detective.
And a very familiar cloud sort of appears over your head and floats over to the stand, looking superb and dashing, and just is reveling in her role as the detective. She's looking extra mysterious. She has 3 lollipop cigarettes sticking out of her mouth. Sorry, I don't think you can make your statement with all of those. Dad! And she spits them out, which is very unbecoming of a detective or a lady or a bumpy matter princess, who it is. So, have you any words of greeting for your favourite character?
Ida's definitely waving at her, like, very excited, like, IBMP, hi!
Hi, girl! How are you?
Great, good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm sorry I gotta do this too, because your tote's gonna lose.
Hey, no hard feelings, girlfriend.
Say to you, let's catch a movie sometime, yeah. Oh, and you two left, I guess you can come if you really want. You sense a sort
Can
of...
we get on with the court proceedings, not discuss personal plans later, please?
It's just as well you said that, because there's a sort of... You feel like a cloud of envy coming from the gallery, and if you... let's roll perception. Let's do a D&D thing. Roll perception.
Alright. Perception.
Just gonna pepper in some of those dice rolls. Oh, a 5, you've no idea.
Oh no. Aw.
I mentioned that.
Oh, a 19.
Hey, nice.
That makes sense. Ida, you're too occupied making plans with your girlfriend. Left, you
Absolutely.
catch out of the corner of your eye the visage? I don't want to call it a face of Roy L. Flush, who seems to be extremely jealous right now. How dare you? Making plans with another one. Oh! The heartbreak. Drama. Anyway, we will proceed to the detective statement, aka, this is your first try at actually playing an Ace Attorney game in D&D, and mine too. I am so sorry if my brain like short circuits at any point because I have a lot to keep track of. Oh.
All
Okay.
good, we believe in ya.
Alright, I'm gonna lay it down for you guys. Ba-bum! Testimony. The hairs found at the scene are like an exact match with those taken from the defendant's tail, and bing! Alibi's tail hair is added to the court record, and indeed those short orange hairs that were mentioned to have been found at the scene have been compared with a sample taken from his tail, and they are seen to match. So, there's your first problem. And there were like traces of blood at the scene, which I totally found all by myself, using my super scientific research skills. And that picture of the luminol blood reactions, which you probably still remember, that is also going to be added. Oh, I don't have it in the right file. Let's find that before I continue, otherwise it will be very confusing. Where the hell is it? Did I just not save it? I must have saved it. Well, y'all can remember, there was some blood to the left, and a little bit to the right. You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that. You're smart,
I remember
cookies.
that.
I'm doing well today. Where the hell? I have no idea where I've put that file. I'll put it in the
Probably
video.
find it.
I'll find it
Yeah.
somehow. Anyway, so it's like, because the doctor who did the autopsy report is like not very good, they're like getting an expert, so they'll check on like extra stuff, but whatever. There were no fingerprints at the scene other than those from the victim and other monks at the altar. So like, anyway, what happened was, it's clearly like the defendant hit the blue guy on top of his head, and he fell face first into the water and drowned. R.I.P. I freaking guessed. And that is the end of the statement. So, the judge looks a little bit surprised at this, and the prosecutor also looks kind of like, yeah, the sweat emoji, like, this is an interesting detective to be working with. Very professional. But the judge says, well, thank you very much, and I believe it is the defense is right to cross-examine, if I remember correctly. Oh, good, it's been so long, I was worried I got it wrong. Okay, so you can cross-examine. So I will repeat the statements that she made, and if there's a particular part you want me to talk more about, you have to ask me a question. So I'll basically go in, like, sentences. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, here we go again.
That-
The hairs found at the scene are an exact match with those taken from the defendant's tail. You want to ask anything, or you're good? Oh, sorry, we're gonna
Can
delay.
Ida kind of lean over to and like quietly say something?
Absolutely, anytime. You can talk to yourselves, like, at any point. Please do.
Right. One angle we might be able to go at is if we tell them that the tail is fake, because we figure out he's actually a bird, right?
But I thought he didn't want us to reveal that, right?
True. Maybe it's like kind of a last resort. Because, like, if it's a fake tail, then somebody could have just stolen the tail and left the hair there to frame him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I assume that's what happened, or...
Right. Well, if he really doesn't want us to say that, I guess we'll just kind of keep that in the back in case we really, really need to.
Yeah, it's better than a guilty verdict.
I just wanted to establish that, so...
Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yep.
Yep, okay. And there were, like, traces of blood at the scene, which I totally found using my super scientific research skills. Okay, I will keep going. And because the doctor... sorry, this delay is killing me. Sorry, did you want to press?
Do we want to? Like, I don't think there's anything on that statement, right?
Yeah, not really. I mean, we'll probably talk about the blood pattern later, but I don't think it's relevant here.
It is killing me that I can't find the luminal thing. Like, if someone did post it. Thank you. You're the best. Anyway,
I literally went to the video on YouTube and I just like got it from there.
Kit, take another inspiration point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
MVP.
I
Thank
got
you.
2 of those now.
Woo! Hopefully you won't have to use all of them, but hey, it's always good to have them. And don't forget you have them, because, like, yeah, there's nothing worse than an unused inspiration point. It's the tragedy. Okay, so yeah, you've definitely got those. Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Because the doctor who, like, did the autopsy report is not very good, they're, like, summoning an expert to check stuff, but, like, whatever.
Hold it! So you do know what an autopsy report is?
Well, yeah, I looked it up in a dictionary after you told me, and they yelled at me for not knowing what one was, so thanks! She looks really skeeved. You just outed her in front of the court that she didn't know what one was.
Griff, come on, you didn't have to say that here.
Sorry. Yeah.
Speaking of that doctor, though, is there anything more you can tell us about them?
The new guy, he's, like, on the express train, you know, those, like, red lace line things, so, like, he'll update it sometime during the proceedings, probably, but, like, it's a pretty evident case, so, like, it even matters. I think it's from, like, Waddleton. I'm not sure. Y'all want to make a perception check or an insight check?
My insight's better. I'll do insight.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are the same, and it's a good thing Ida's here. Ida's here.
Okay.
Both got 17.
Matching 17s. That works perfectly because you can't really help but notice, in fact, because your defendant appears to have become so nervous, he's not only biting nails that he doesn't have, but he has started levitating upwards because it's like he's accidentally kind of floating a bit, and then the magic of the anti-magic courtroom kicks in and he thuds back into his chair. Anyway, it almost feels like
He's gonna lean over.
Oh. Go.
I was gonna say Ida leans over and is like, are you alright? Do you know this doctor or something?
I'm really hoping that I don't, but thank you for checking. You get the impression that he feels like, yeah, he knows who that is, and it's not a good thing. Anyway, science expert from Waddleton, guys. I wonder if you can guess who it is.
It's a mystery.
The detective resumes, there were no fingerprints at the scene other than those from the victim and other monks at the altar. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, there's not really anything to say there.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
And we shall move on to the last bit, which is, anyway, so, the defendant hit the blue guy on top of his head, and he fell face first into the water and drowned. R.I.P., I frickin' guess.
Hold it. How do you believe that the defendant reached the top of Mr. Ito's head? Mr. Ito was quite a bit taller than Mr. Miohn-Rouls.
The prosecution looks really smug. Oh no, guys. He looks so smug.
Oh no.
Well, clearly on you at this game. Would you care to repeat for me, Mr. Left? You seem to have forgotten what the occupation of the victim was.
He was a monk? Oh, was he... He was... Okay.
And you found some fingerprints on the altar, you said, Detective.
Yeah, they were all over it, but at the front mostly.
Well, I suppose that anyone here with an IQ over the size of their shoe size can guess what happened. The monk was praying.
Is Ida allowed to say hold it? Cause
Absolutely.
I know in the game usually Griff says that, but...
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. Hold... Wait,
Go ahead.
hold it. He was kneeling at the altar, then how'd he get outside of the altar? Because he was quite a few feet away from where the body was found. If he got knocked over the head while he was praying at the altar, how'd he get all the way over there?
And the judge looks a bit surprised. Don't you mean to say you know what the scene looked like? Yeah, I totally described it to them. Actually, I've got a picture, right? I should give you that. And she reaches into her coat and fishes around for a while, and she presents it very proudly and says, as you can see, I took it as I arrived at the scene, and I managed to capture all the most important details. I mean, do you guys see anything wrong with this picture?
Well, I mean, we know he was face up when he died, but we can't exactly prove that.
You sure there's nothing else that occurs to you, Mr. Left?
Also the fact that she's blocking half the shot.
Yeah, you might want to point that out. Do you want to make, I don't know, say something that means you disagree with this?
Objection!
There it is! She looks very surprised,
Hey,
as
we
does
got
everybody.
Detective Princess, we can't... Half of the scene is obscured in this photo.
I know, the body was so gross, I just had to do something.
Do you really not have a more complete image of the crime scene?
Oh, you want to see one of the crimes? I've got like a ton of selfies. I can give you those afterwards, but I guess. You sure it doesn't even have a filter? It's really boring. Fine. And she produces.
We'll look at your selfies later.
Anyway, it's not like there's anything in the other one that isn't in the first one, so like, big deal.
Hold it.
Uh-huh.
There is something that isn't in the first one. There's some sort of, next to his feet, there's something in the water.
Is there?
There we go.
The judge is blinking and squinting. You're gonna have to point it out!
It's the shards next to his feet. If I had the some sort of DS stylus, I would be.
It's fine. We shall use the stylus of the mind. And the prosecution squints at the photograph, and the judge squints at the photograph, and everybody squints at the photograph, which is on the projected sheet, which I've just invented, that happens to be in the courtroom, so everybody can see it. And there is a sort of ripple of astonishment.
Or something. Yeah.
There's a ripple of astonishment, because, like, no one had noticed that. Like, it's really hard to see them on that picture. How did you see that? And the judge sort of, just blinks and says, well, why... Goodness, what eyesight you young people have! Prosecution, why have you not submitted these shards as evidence?
But I haven't had any. Detective, where are these?
But I don't know. Like, they totally weren't diagrams, so I didn't see them.
And yet they are there in that photo. Are you suggesting that you did not thoroughly examine the crime scene, Detective Princess?
She looks like she's, like, trying to swallow her own tongue. She's, like, flabbergasted. Well, maybe I didn't look very well, but I totally looked after we drained the water. You drained the water? Says the judge in the wrong voice, because I got confused. Anyway, and there is more calamity from the gallery, like, what the hell, they drained the water and they didn't find the shards? Order! Prosecution, I demand that you explain.
Yes, well, reluctantly, Your Honor. The police have confirmed this. No further evidence than that supplied was found at the scene. As the water was drained, it's hardly likely that they could have missed those shards, as small as they are. I owe my thanks to you, defense. I had been wondering about that. Well, you asked after it yourself, didn't you? The murder weapon. Or are you now going to argue that this is simply a defect on the lens of the camera? No. Surely the defense cannot be so simple. Think about it. If the shards were there at the taking of this photograph, but no longer there later in the day, despite being under guard, there can be only one resolution to the disappearance of these crystals of a see-through substance in water. Can you not think of what that might be?
And we did kind of theorize that before with some of the stuff we found, like that one patch of blood. So.
Do you want to voice a theory? I will tell you, this is your first risk of getting a penalty.
Right.
So he's questioning how these shards could have disappeared, though the room was under guard. And it's in water.
But they got washed away, right?
That's a good idea. I'm actually not going to penalise you for that because it's a decent idea. So I'm going to say, like, you volunteer that, and the judge says, this is quite possible. And the prosecution says, no, I'm afraid not. We checked all of the grates to make sure that nothing was lost during the draining of the room. And he looks rather sourly at the detective, who ignores him and is taking more selfies.
Well, then that suggests that the only people who had access to that room were the police. Who else could have stolen the shards?
Oh no, you fell for the
I have
okay.
another one.
No, I'm afraid. You are gonna take a d6 of psychic damage. You're both gonna take 2. You get the because the judge looks really cross and like bangs a gavel and says, "Mr. Left, this is a most serious accusation unless you have evidence to support it. I believe that you are missing a more simple resolution. I believe that the prosecution is now going to explain that so that I don't have to, because I definitely already know what the answer is." And the prosecution rubs his
I
hands
was gonna
together.
say I have one more.
Oh yeah,
I
go
have
on.
another chance to like say it. Okay?
Go on.
Can I say it or?
You can say it.
Wait, if the crystal is that clear, then maybe it's still in the water and they just weren't able to find it because it's see-through.
Oh, my buddy, I'm so sorry. You take another 3. I'll make Ida the only one who says he gets that, because I mean, Left didn't actually say that. Sorry. Okay, the prosecution puts you out of your misery and says,
Ice. My theory is that matches my theory all along, that Alibi created a weapon out of the water using magic. He froze a chunk of it and dropped it onto the victim's head. The ice melts, and voila! No weapon to be found. What a devious fox indeed. And a sorcerer, I might add.
Just okay, because I can't see. I can't really tell from the image.
Mm-hmm.
Does it look like these shards are floating?
it could well be. Like, it's very hard to tell, and it seems like the court is fairly swayed. And I'm afraid we're gonna move on, because the Bumpy Matter Princess looks like very put out, because everyone's sort of been dunking on her. And she's like, well, I don't want to burst your bubble, but, like, I'm the one who found the crimson, I'm the one who solved it, so I'm now going to give you my genius deductive spectacular. And that's what's gonna happen. And boom, next testimony comes up. So, like, the dodgy fox guy totally wanted to steal the Eye of Truth thingy because it'd be, like, mad valuable. So he snuck into the temple at night and goes down into the inner sanctum. But then the fox guy sees that the monk guy is there and is like, oh no, my plan is totally foiled. But the monk has his back turned to him because he's facing the altar, being all holy and junk. So the fox tiptoes up behind him and smacker, hits him on top of the head with ice, I guess, maybe. I don't know if he, like, meant to kill the guy. He looks way too wimpy for that. But if he stole the eye and ran away with the guy facing down in the water, he would have drowned anyways. So, like, he's totally guilty. And the prosecution looks like he wants to say something, but also doesn't, because this detective is a lot of work. Well, I suppose that's a take. Would the defense like to cross-examine that statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good, I would as well. I mean, yes, please reiterate your statement for the benefit of the gallery. And here we go again. So, like, the dodgy fox guy totally wanted to steal the Eye of Truth thingy because it'd be mad valuable. No? Yes? No?
Hold it. How exactly do you suppose Mr. Miohn-Rouls would sell such an object without it becoming blatantly obvious that he stole this one-of-a-kind treasure from the temple?
Well, I mean, look at him. And the entire court looks at him, and he looks terrible. Like, even his, like, already sketchy outline is, like, you know, there's lines coming off it in places that isn't not usually. He's like a really rough-drawn fox right now. And she says, you think you'd dress like that if you had money? He's totally desperate. He won't have problem at that. and you actually hear a very quiet, "I object," from the Alibi. Anyway, Harry snuck into the temple at night and goes down into the inner sanctum, but then sees that the monk guy is there and is all like, "Oh no, my plan is foiled." I'm gonna say there's like nothing else to that, really. I can keep going. But the monk has his back turned to him because he's like facing the altar, being all holy and junk. So the fox tiptoes up to him, behind him, and smacko! Hits him on top of the head.
Mr. Miohn-Rouls, they mentioned that you are some sort of spellcaster. I don't suppose you have like some sort of, do you have like the sleep spell in your list or anything?
Well, I used to. I think I forgot how to do it. It's a bit. Things happen when I need them to happen. But I will say, you have to remember, I wasn't there and I didn't do it. So can you maybe focus on that as a reality?
Okay, yeah. Oh, I was, yes. But if you had an easier way to subdue him, it would go a long way to proving it wasn't you who did this. But yeah.
You're the one who's the lawyer. They're not going to listen to me.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm making a statement here. Do you want me to say it again?
Yeah, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Well, okay, but only because I like the sound of my own voice. So, the fox tiptoes up behind him, super quiet, and smacko hits him on top of the head.
Objection. This room was full of water. How did you tiptoe up quietly?
Yeah, good. You present the water as evidence. And she does a flip backwards. It's the surprise sprite animation time. And the judge says, "By George, that's a very good point." But as ever, the prosecution just stands there rubbing his hands. Oh, don't you hate it when he does that?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So, you think that the reason why your client wouldn't make any noise is because there was water. Let me ask you something. Did you notice anything unusual about the steps down into the inner sanctum?
They were muddy. No, there weren't.
Yes, as my esteemed colleague here has recalled finally. The stairs were perfectly clean, and of course there's only really one understandable way that one could make one's way down into the inner sanctum without touching the stairs, and I think you can guess what I am about to say.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the prosecution can prove that the defendant does in fact know how to fly. When the police, what was your name, Yuri-san, tried to arrest him, he attempted to fly away, unsuccessfully, I might add.
And the gallery seems very convinced by this.
Oy.
The judge sort of looks at Alibi with a distinct lack of trust and sort of is sort of nodding, but says, "Well, I think that about wraps up the detective's point of view. I would ask you to summon the first witness." And the first witness is called. And it's your good old friend Umeboshi, who walks in like a galleon. She's so tall and elegant, and it's sort of emphasized by being inside. The previous times you've seen her, she was like outdoors. She's very tall. That really does come across when she walks into the room here. And there's a sort of murmured whisper of respect going around, because like anyone who's here is basically local, and everybody knows Umeboshi. She's been at the temple for a long time now. I can't remember how long I said. It was like 25 years or something. Anyway, and she takes the stand and bows to you and says, I deeply regret that this may go against you, but I must do my duty by the law and by the deceased.
No hard feelings as long as you give truthful testimony. I'm sure we'll find the truth of the matter and our client will be acquitted.
She actually gives you an approving smile and nods, and yeah, she intends to do just that. And the prosecution says,
My dear lady, if you could please testify as to what you happened to witness that evening.
and Umi sort of takes a breath and says, I will. And here comes her testimony. I made a burnt offering at the shrine in town, and was returning to the temple to retire for the night. When I was traversing the outer boundary, I felt a chill, and turned my gaze in that direction. When I saw that nine-tailed fox, I had a bad feeling, but was greatly tired, and continued on to my chambers. And it's a very short statement, but there you go. Is there a particular part of that you want to react to?
The nine-tailed fox part?
Our client has one tail, as you may notice.
Ah, yes, well, that does warrant some elucidation. Fortunately, it has become my habit to carry a camera. We had a guest stay previously, a red-haired, curly-haired woman of some boisterous qualities, but she left one of her cameras, and I took it as a gift. I did manage to take a photograph, and here she produces this photograph taken on the evening described. Y'all like pictures of UFOs? Here's one.
Huh. Interesting.
As you can see, the resemblance is quite striking, though I believe my client has a theory as to the slight difference in absolute detail.
Witness, if you could please share that theory with us.
Ah, but of course, you're not one of our locals, so you may not have seen it. The nine-tailed fox has been witnessed several times over our humble little village. It is not too uncommon in Ghibli overall, but I suspect that there are those present today who may have seen something similar. And she looks at the gallery, and there is a sort of ripple of, oh yeah, I saw it the other, oh my cousin saw it, yeah. It's like, yeah, this is something that occasionally happens. Being Ghibli, there's even a town which is kind of famous for its yokai, but it's a little way off. So, she decides to testify a little bit more about the creature. And the judge also adds, but this creature is flying. Surely that's to be worth noting.
Your Honor, the defendant has clearly proven that he is capable of such magic already. However, let's allow the expert to elucidate and inspire us further.
And he just looks like he's enjoying this entire evening so much. It's awful. He's awful. I hate him. But his voice is quite fun to do. Anyway. And yeah, she decides to testify on the nine-tailed fox. The nine-tailed fox demon, Kitsune. Surely you have heard of it. Any demon fears a holy relic and would think very little of taking a mortal life to achieve its goals. My theory is this, that the demon fox, fond of lies and mischief, sought to destroy the eye of truth so that its wicked ways, or fun, would be unimpeded. As a demon, it feared making direct contact with the relic, so it took possession of a mortal being to force them to do the deed. In this case, the unfortunate Mr. Alibi, Miohn-Rouls. Objection! And Alibi strikes the desk and stands on his chair to boost his somewhat meager stature. I object. You can accuse me of thievery and murder and whatever, but I'm as lucky as they come. Don't you dare throw my doubt onto perfectly pristine potentiousness. He has to be squashed by Yuri-san and like a couple of other baristas, and yeah, the court is in uproar for a minute while the judge bangs his gavel to resume order.
I will say that Griffin just keeps kind of like glancing nervously over at the baristas. Like, coffee is not something he's comfortable with being in the courtroom.
Are you
He
sure?
doesn't-
I've heard like some people drink up to 7 cups during a session, but like, or is it 17?
He has burns.
Yeah.
He's gotten burns.
I mean, you can place an order if it'd put you at ease. They do decaf.
Anyway, what? Hold it. If our client was possessed, surely you can't accuse him of the crime. That would be not his responsibility.
Somehow, the chaos has been sedated, and the defendant has been suppressed, mostly by being sat on, and the judge does seem to agree, and says, well, would you like to change your stance on the accusation, then? If you plead for a case of accessory to murder or manslaughter, we may be able to take that into consideration. Yes. Would the prosecution be so obliging? Yes, of course.
We can't do that, can we?
Like, we haven't even proved that he was, like, possessed. Like, all we have is this blurry photo right now, so...
Yeah, at this time, the defense will keep its not guilty plea.
Well, that is your decision. Yes, it definitely is. And I will say that one of the multiple endings has been thrown out of the window. Hooray! You avoided the bad ending number 1. Congratulations. Good.
All right.
I can close that file. Great. Okay. Would you like to hear this testimony on the nine-tailed fox again?
Please.
Okay. She reiterates her statement. The nine-tailed fox demon, Kitsune. Surely you've heard of it. Have you? I don't know. You could roll history. Maybe you have.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do an actual D&D thing before we forget that we're actually playing D&D.
Oh, hey. I'm pushing that for some reason.
A 3? Oh, and the irony with it being in your name, I put it in especially for you. For those
Kitsune, I never heard of that.
Yeah, for those listening.
Certainly not an animated one or a cartoon type.
Yeah, Kit's actual like handle name is CarttonKitsune, and I love it. And I was like, oh, I can use that. But alas, a 3. Ida doesn't know shit. With a 12, I think Left has like heard of them, but like maybe you're just like a bit, yeah, foggy on the details, as foggy as it is outside. So do you want to inquire about them? You might benefit from it.
Right.
I'm sure we all know about the Kitsune, but for the benefit of the court record, perhaps you could explain, just so that it's on file.
I'm just gonna roll a little insight on her behalf here, because that's funny.
Let me roll one.
21. She's got
Any
your
guidance to
number.
that?
Oh, any though.
Can I add guidance to his blood?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. All she's gonna do is kind of smirk at you, so it's up to you.
Museum, do you want guidance on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
add a D4
let's
to
see.
that.
Yeah, you'll probably get it. Oh, it's a dead set. Oh, equal 21s. I mean, even with that, like, I think she's got, like, an inkling, but she wants to give you the benefit of the doubt. And you are in court, so of course you wouldn't lie, especially not to a high priestess of an order that's obsessed with the truth, would you?
No, Griffin Left would never bluff.
No.
What are you talking about?
Ever, not ever. Anyway, she nods and says, well, the kitsune are believed to possess superior intelligence, long life, and magical powers. They are a type of yokai, that is demon. They are not always malevolent spirits, so I was not unduly alarmed by seeing one. So that's basically all she's saying to that point, but there's a couple more statements that you can press on. Anyway, so she continues. Any demon fears a holy relic and would think very little of taking a mortal life to achieve its goals.
Nothing there.
Nope, not really. My theory is this, that the demon fox, fond of lies and mischief, sought to destroy the Eye of Truth so that its wicked ways, or fun, would be unimpeded. Okay, I shall continue. As a demon, it feared making direct contact with the relic, so it took possession of a mortal being to force them to do the deed. In this case, Mr. Alibi Miohn-Rouls.
Hold it. Out of curiosity, are there any sort of signs that can show that someone's being possessed by a kitsune? Like, I don't know, weird eyes or anything physical?
Oh, yes, indeed. The photograph shows his form after the possession took place. You see, a demon can transform the body of a person they possess if they are powerful enough. I think that you have experienced something similar, though very different, with your channeling.
Yeah, something like that. And she looks a little like mildly distressed for a moment, but it passes pretty quickly.
The judge looks quite interested in this and says, I believe that this should be added to the statement of the witness testimony. And so it is added, the statement that the photograph shows his form after the possession took place. I will say, if you get stuck, remember you've got many inspiration points, and they will act like hint coins or the like.
Because I know this. If the statement got added, then it's definitely important. So.
Yeah.
Now I've got 2 inspiration right now. Do you want to use one of mine?
I also have 2, so 6 of one, half dozen.
Right. I'm willing to use one if because I'm a little bit stumped on this one. So.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
I am being mean. I want to give you guys a challenge because you're clever buggers. You really are. You don't know how clever. Anyway, I'm sweating buckets over here. So, the statement itself may contain its own contradiction in terms of it being proof. The photograph shows his form after the possession took place. If a person is possessed, their form will change if the possessor is powerful enough. Do you need a further hint on this?
Okay.
I think I've got it. So, because he's fleeing the scene, so the idea that the kitsune would have left his body at that point, by the time he stole it. Or...
I feel bad. I should have made sure that was clear. You can't tell which direction this thing is flying. You can't tell if it's heading towards the scene or away from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a bad photograph. It's super uggo. Look at it. No good composition.
Change form if the possessor is powerful enough.
This is a kind of a wood for the trees
It has to do with
thing.
the fact that
Trees?
Oh, well, I may have confused you. I'm saying you may not be seeing the obvious because it is so obvious.
it has to do with the fact that he's physically we know he's a bird and that he technically has no tails, but because changing his form
Okay. I'm gonna give you a last hint, and then after this, don't worry, Lewis, we are gonna take a break. This is what you need to pick up on. I am typing it in.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Oh.
It's so obvious it's not obvious. It's
Right.
fine, don't worry about it. I'm kind of pleased that you didn't get
We
that.
were
I feel a bit
overthinking it a little
smug.
bit.
Okay, now do you want to make an objection?
Yeah.
Objection. Hold on. So, if this kitsune could change someone's form, what's to say that that's our client? The fact that he's a fox would be irrelevant.
And everyone is like,
kind of biased.
everyone is like, oh no, what? Ah, that could be you in that. No, it's not me, it could be you. Everyone's kind of freaking out. And even Umiboshi is like, she looks a bit stunned and tilts her head from side to side. Is it true? Have I been blinded by my own unseen bias? By the whims of evil too? And everyone is in such a mess. The judge just like, order, we will take a 15-minute recess before calling the second witness. Clearly this witness and photograph cannot prove that it is the defendant, therefore we will ask for more testimony before proceeding. Everybody, take a break. Take 5. Barista, I would like a caramel latte. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. And yes, you indeed are allowed to leave the courthouse, have a breather, have a break, including me, because my god, I've been talking for a hot while. Okay. You're doing great. You've made enormous progress. Like, really, really good. I almost undid myself at one point there, but never mind. Hopefully you'll forgive me in the long run. Okay. So, yeah, take 5?
Right, see you guys in a bit.
Yeah, see you in a bit.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay. Get a drink, get some snacks. Y'all in the Chestnut Gallery, I'm sure you've all theorized correctly. I'm gonna stay out of the gallery so that I don't get self-conscious, because you guys are all very clever. So, I'm just gonna hang out here and get me some water. Okay, bye, see you in a bit.
I'm back.
Okay. Just gonna stretch.
Hi, Chad. How you all doing?
I hope everybody's having a good time. Sorry I'm not amazing at this. It's like, this was very much an experiment. It's interesting how it's going.
No, you're doing great. Like, so far this is going really well.
Okay. Good. Why is Louis gonna fight me? Oh, I see. Also, hey, get back in the gallery. Get in. Get in. I love you. I really do. Oh, blah. Okay. Well.
Also, shout out to Cell for the amazing art, as always.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. I'm sticking to my guns and not going in the gallery, otherwise I'll freak out. But, like, I just know Cell draws so fast. I'm gonna have so much work to do. I'm gonna have so much editing to do. It's a good problem, though. Okay. It may be, actually, I have to apologise in advance, because this week is crazy busy, so I'm gonna be real, I'm not sure how quickly I'll be able to get the audio up. I might just put the raw audio up and then put art later, but, like, I kind of like having the art in the video, so I don't know, I might just make you guys wait for a week and a half, because I'm very busy right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Alright, you can always, like, put the raw audio up for a little bit.
Yeah, I could take it down after, I guess. Well, anyway. Ugh.
Don't overdo it, dude. You
No, yeah. I think we're gonna, like, head for 2.5 hours and see where we're at then, because, like, I can already feel my voice kind of hating me. So, we'll see at what point we're at.
Absolutely, yeah.
If we're, like, super close to finishing it, or we've already done it, like, the crux of it, we'll discuss matters. Yeah, so, recess. How are we feeling? How are you guys?
And I'd say definitely feeling good about, like, calling out that last part, like disproving that the photo was him. So
No, it was good. It was good reasoning. And yeah, so you come out into the lobby. Are we going to keep going, or do you want longer? Sorry, I just automatically kept going there.
I'm good to go.
Yeah? Okay. Love you girls. Thank you for putting up with my same voice syndrome. I'm literally running out of voices I can do at this point. I've been doing D&D for like 2 years. I've run out. Oh no.
It's hard playing that many characters.
It is, man. It is.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Right. So, you've come out into the lobby to have a breather, and you hadn't really realised, and it's probably because you've been so tense and it's foggy outside, but you're actually really cold. So, like, it's a good time to jump up and down and warm up a bit and get the feeling back into your fingers. But while you're doing this, you have a fluttering clickety-clack of heels coming up behind you at quite some speed, Mr. Left. What do you want to do? Quick!
Dodge to the left.
You dodge to the left. Let's see. How about roll dexterity?
Save or check.
I'm gonna let you choose, cause I'm feeling nice.
I'll do a save because I have a bonus.
Yeah. 13 though.
Yeah, it's not great.
Unlucky 13, especially
Worse.
because it's the owner of the casino who basically sort of catapults herself into you.
And she says, "Oh my god, you didn't tell me who the victim was?"
We didn't know. Sorry.
And we
Well-
only found out about it after we talked to you.
Well, fair enough, I didn't know his name, but, like, he was like the big head honcho of the Blue Hand Gang. Did you not know?
I think they got
who are the
mentioned
blue?
to us, but not the name of them, but like that he was part of some group.
Okay, I want you both to roll history if you know anything about the Blue Hand Gang.
All right.
Nah, okay, with a 15.
What is rolling 10?
Yeah, I mean, an 11, either you're kind of still, like, waiting on your hot chocolate or whatever you've ordered from the barista. Maybe,
Absolutely. With extra whipped cream, by the way.
yeah, maybe fanning the passed out fox who's on the floor in front of you. Yeah, with a 15, though,
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Like, Mr. Left, you do remember reading in the newspaper a couple of years ago, like this was a while ago, but there was a gang that was going around busting into places and basically like robbing them. There were 3 men and they were all blue. And you would have thought you'd be able to catch a bunch of blue guys, but no, they were like really good at getting away. And Roy is like,
Well, okay, I didn't know his name, but, like, the moment I saw that photograph of the dead guy, I was like, oh my god, it was totally him. So, like, they totally raided one of my previous casinos.
Oh, really?
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, they busted in, told us to freeze. After that, I can't remember much. I think they did something to us, and when it came to, all the cash was gone. Ugh. I took it as a sign, because, like, I'll be honest, we weren't being so honest back then, so I took it as an omen, and I went straight, and it's all been fine since then. I didn't know he was, like, in town. I would have, like, totally reported him.
But I think High Priestess Oni said something about him choosing to move on from that life. I guess I kind of assumed he was some sort of I don't know. He was a thief, huh?
he was in his
I guess maybe he was
previous
trying to
life.
change his way.
And behind you is a very tall lady with a big shadow who looks quite stern.
Yeah.
Roy doesn't seem to back down from this and says,
Well, are you gonna explain?
and the priestess says, I have nothing to explain. My monks are all very honest. What they did in their former lives is behind them.
I mean, if he told you that while the Eye of Truth was still present, that would make it truthful. But, I mean, what about the other 2 members of the Blue Hand Gang? they couldn't have been pleased when he left them to go become a monk, could they?
Ah, this I cannot say. I do not know what transpired with the other two. Roy, because you're stalling, says,
Well, I'm just trying to remember what they even did to me. I know they broke in and they did something. They held up something shiny, and then I don't know. I can't remember anything else. I just remember being really cold.
Really cold.
Yeah, but I get cold easily. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing lace. It's nothing to do with it. It was something like they held up something really small. It was like shiny.
Small and shiny, and it made you feel cold.
Well, it's nothing. Anyway, did you hear the rumor that the next witness is gonna be the bronze Bushido? Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Is it true? Do you guys know?
Yeah, the detective told us it's totally him. Them. I don't really know who's behind the mask, but yeah, it's them.
Yes. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Although, I wonder if he's okay. Like, did you read that newspaper article?
No. Did something happen to him?
Ah, girl, you don't even know. Hang on, I know I saved it here. I'm a huge fan.
and she rummages around in her copious dress. She's wearing like an even bigger dress than last time. You can tell she showed up to impress someone. And she manages to find a little torn out newspaper clipping. And it's about the bronze Bushido. It's got even like a rare photograph of the guy, like, because it's pretty hard to get him on film because he's like, he just does his stuff and then disappears. And it says like he was fighting a bunch of people, and then he seemed to have like a problem. Like, everybody knows this guy's kind of like a robot, but he seemed to have a small malfunction and then just disappeared. Like, in a flash of light. He just disappeared.
Huh.
Yeah, so when I heard he was like turning up today, I was like, big surprise.
Well, thank you for this. We can maybe use this as evidence, at least.
Alright, my loves, how's it going? You're having a hard time out there, aren't you? And Subarashi has come to give you a little bit of a jovial poke in the ribs, but she looks like she's like happy to see you.
Oh, I mean, it could have gone worse. We're doing all right so far, I think.
Looks like it could have
yeah.
gone better, but anyway, you're doing a fantastic job. I have to say, I've had my doubts about you, Mr. Miohn-Rouls, but if these two seem to think you're alright, maybe I was wrong. Oh, anyway, I thought I'd give you this, just as a sort of keepsake. And she produces a poster, which is of the performance that you caught on the evening. Just something to remember us by, basically.
Well, oh wait. Okay, so the time of death was
7:45.
7:45. So I mean that is his.
Yeah. So in other words, we would have to kind of reveal this part, but then again, we weren't able to find like definitive evidence in his room, so that might be a little tricky.
Yeah. Because his
Definitive
luggage was
person.
stolen.
Oh, I'm
Exactly.
supposing I'm not supposed to be hearing this conversation. Anyway, I'm gonna go and support you in the
Yeah, I figured they'd
gallery.
say it quietly.
Good
yeah.
luck, you two. And yeah, she walks off, and
Thank you.
it looks like it's nearly time to go back in. I have to apologize because I actually meant to give you the Jazz Spectacular poster right at the beginning of the game. I just forgot. My bad.
Okay.
It's alright. It didn't come into the first half anyway, as you saw. But yes, you now have this
Better
article
late than never.
about the bronze Bushido, and you have the Jazz Spectacular advertisement. Which one has to be impressed at how quickly they made it, considering that she like arrived on the day of the performance. They've got a printing
Yeah,
press up in the
definitely.
tavern. It's fine. Bullshit rules. We're toons. We can just make things. Okay, so it looks like you've got a very few minutes before you go back in. Is there anything you want to quickly ask someone, or like something you want to say to Mr. Alibi Miohn-Rouls, who looks like he is catatonic at the moment?
Mr. Mr. Miohn-Rouls, are you sure we can't tell them your actual alibi?
I think that would actually be a fate worse than death. I would rather go to prison.
I mean, your secret would probably also be revealed if you went to prison. I don't...
That's
Yeah.
also true.
I don't know if there's a way that we can. I don't know if there's a way that we can. I don't know, like prove that you were Miss Swansong without like revealing who your real identity is. 'Cause, I mean, we don't know that.
That's true, and I also want to keep it that way. Can we just keep this as an extreme last resort? I am begging you.
Okay.
I tell you what, here's the
If it
deal.
looks like you're about to be found guilty.
Here's the deal. If you can prove that I am innocent without resorting to that, I'm going to let you keep that seeing stone. How's that for a motivation? Is the money a good motivation?
Yeah,
That's what you want, isn't it? That's what
it's
lawyers
pretty
always want,
useful.
isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's nice and all, but honestly, like if it's that important to you, then we do it with or without you giving us the stone. Griff?
Yep, I mean, we've taken on enough pro bono clients. It would just be one more.
He looks kind of suspicious. I'm gonna roll insight for him, see if he can figure out if you're actually telling the truth. He's only got a +1 in it. Oh dear. 17. He does believe in you, partly because he desperately wants to. My God, he really needs someone to believe in right now. And that's what you're so
Aw.
famous for, Mr. Left, especially is believing in your clients to the bitter end, even if.
Believing in my client.
Yeah, even if it's looking really bad, and just in time because the bailiff leans around the door and says, "All right, we're going back again."
Real quick, do I need to like do another motivational speech? Because it only lasts an hour. I don't know if I need to like up that.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna say like if you want the last one to keep hanging on, I really don't mind.
Whatever's cool with you, because it lasts an hour, so I figure I'd leave that up to you. So.
It has actually been an hour, so yeah, let's be real time about this. You cast it again, that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, she'll cast it again. So that's still got the temp HP. Still got the advantage on wisdom saves, or is it checks or saves? Let me double check. It's wisdom saving throws. So you get
Okay.
advantage on those. All right.
Good, fine, great, super duper. And I assume you go back into the court.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, you go back in, and yeah, like I said, like when you went into the lobby, you felt cold because you'd been concentrating so hard. You're actually like pretty sure it's cold in here now, which is weird. But yeah, everyone's kind of sitting back down. Maybe the heat's gone out of the room with the people. Like that happens. And yeah, interestingly, it looks like there's someone in this room who feels kind of hot because Prosecutor Jazz is sweating. Looks very uncomfortable. for some
Everything
reason.
all right, prosecutor?
Yeah, none of your business. I'm fine.
Ah, sorry for showing this, professional courtesy, but all right.
Okay, and the judge bangs his gavel. I'm sorry I didn't find like anything wooden to bang on my wooden desk, but anyway, you can imagine it. That's my knuckles. Ow. Order. We will now resume the proceedings determining the guilt or not of Alibi Miohn-Rouls regarding the murder of Shibito. And I'm sorry that I sound so like that priestess. It's just a coincidence. Now, Prosecutor Jazz, is there anything you would like to say before we resume proceedings? You look a little uncomfortable.
Well, it's nothing really. It's just, well, as there's the matter of the autopsy report. You see, it's just been updated. So,
All
here you
that.
are.
And he hands it over, looking, you know, last time he kind of like handed it over so greasily that it sort of pulled into your hand. This time he doesn't hand it over so easily. He looks really kind of anxious. I'm gonna read it out and then post the details because it's more fun that way. So the autopsy report now says that no water was found in the lungs. So any claim that he was drowned is out of the window. And the judge is reading this and looks quite surprised. Oh, so it's not drowning.
Yes, but well, it's about the blow to the head.
Oh, so that was the cause of death.
Also determined the blow to the head was also not the cause of death. There was insufficient trauma for that to happen. It might have knocked him out for a little while, is what they think. But as of this moment, the cause of death is unknown, Your Honor.
And the court is in fray again!
I was
Your
about
Honor, I'd
to
like
say,
to
he
move
does like
for
a
a
big
fifth trial.
reaction.
We can't prove. No.
There's much consternation about this fact. And after this, I will actually post it, whilst also adding that the blunt force trauma to the skull appears to have been made by a flat object. There are some bruises around both the victim's arms, which, you know, matches up with what you saw through the seeing stone of having the sleeves rucked up, if you recall. And there are 5 small, strange marks on the skin of the victim's chest, unidentified as to the cause of it. I will give you the picture in a moment. And you can assume this might be a reason why the body was turned over. I shouldn't have put that in the text that I just gave you, but yeah, you can deduce that pretty easily.
That makes sense.
And the final point, which is quite exciting. Does Mr. Griffin Left want to read it out so I'm not giving all of the details?
There are 2 blood types present at the scene. One real kind and one Toonkind.
But that's not... We don't accept DNA. I told that professor. It's new technology. We don't really... I mean, there's some basis for it. Some of them are ink and paint-based, and apparently real kind blood isn't, and it's all very complicated, but it isn't accepted by the court of law at the moment. You may disregard the last piece of information.
And the judge says, I'm not sure about that, but we will keep it in mind. Thank you, Prosecutor Jazz.
Right.
Huh.
So, quite a lot of new information.
Your Honor, the prosecution has failed to provide an explanation for the means by which our client has supposedly murdered the victim. Can a trial really be held in this circumstance?
Objection! And for the first time, the prosecutor objects and says, just because you've got new information doesn't mean that I haven't got a basis. Just look at those cunning shadow hidden eyes, that crooked stance, that English accent, all hallmarks of a villainous character design. And there's some agreement.
Objection!
I was about to say objection.
Your Honor,
too.
aside from the bit about the English accent, none of that is... No, I'm sorry.
No, it's fair enough. There's more rioting in the stands, and the judge bangs his gavel and says, "We will refrain from any suppositions regarding accents," and fluffs his chest, his beard out officiously. One might almost think that he has some Ghibli in him because his hair sometimes reacts to the situation. And yeah, there's very much a thing. But the prosecution recovers himself and says, well, just because my former theory, which was only a theory, must point out it was a hypothesis, you see, it still holds water, if you understand my meaning. The victim was knocked out by the means that I have stated, by dropping a block of ice onto his head, whether he was kneeling or whether the criminal was flying. Doesn't matter. And if our esteemed friend Mr. Alibi Miohn-Rouls here is a magician, as I have so already proven, then there must be any number of ways that he could have killed by magical means.
None of that constitutes... okay. So you are still accusing him of the assault, at least.
I maintain my stance that the defendant is guilty, both of theft and of willful murder.
Marks on the body. What?
Really important somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there is a note in the autopsy report saying, quite literally, that these marks on the torso are unidentified. Like, just by looking at them, you could guess what some it might be, but, like, you really, they don't know what this is. They don't know what this is. Whoever compiled this much more thorough autopsy report has to confess that whoever it is hasn't seen this before. And it is notably different from the bruising of the arms.
Griffin is kind of reeling about the fact that an updated autopsy report went in their favor. But,
I
know,
thought
right?
you'd appreciate that. I knew you'd appreciate it. I'm here turning tables! Gonna give you some good times for once. Anyway,
This is all... It doesn't matter. I have a witness. I have a witness that will cement the events that have transpired, and all other conflicts will disappear as if by magic. Just like the life of this poor individual that my dear friend, the Bronze Bushido, is going to put into his grave. And there's a sort of wow from the crowd, because now you understand why there's so many people here. They came to see the Bronze Bushido! Of course they did! Copyrighted music now, yes. Yeah. And, and up strides the Bronze Bushido, who's every bit as impressive as you would have thought. Like, you've seen the TV show, Ida. This guy's so much shinier! He looks like a real robot rather than a guy wearing a robot suit. And he's got glowy bits, and he's all sparkly. There's much lens flare going on, and he takes the stand, and I try and remember what the hell his voice is.
Yeah, it should go without saying, but Ida is like absolutely beside herself, like just so excited, like she can't even speak. She's just like, just like, so excited.
Greetings, courthouse. I am here to report for duty. The judge has to blink some of the sparkles out of his eyes and says, well, yes, well, my grandchildren are quite big fans of yours, so I'm quite excited myself, I must say.
Anyway, moving on from that, could you provide us with your testimony, witness?
Confirmative, I shall oblige. And he gets straight to it because he's a robot and that's what he's gonna do. So, here's his stainless steel testimony. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the temple's inner gardens. I stood in front of the doorway to the inner sanctum, looking outwards. At 7:27 p.m., I saw a shadow. And at 1:30, I heard the bell chime. I did not move for the entire direction. I suffered a malfunction at 7:45 p.m. Total system reset. And that's the end of the testimony. The judge.
That's the exact time when the death supposedly happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The prosecution would like to present evidence, or rather, would like to implore my good friend, who I'm very good friends with, the Bronze Bushido. I would like to ask the Bronze Bushido to provide the evidence, if you could show me what you showed me before, which was really quite astonishing.
And after a small delay, I will do that for you because I have to grab some things.
So now, real quick, when he's like saying like, oh, he's my friend, like Ida is like glaring daggers at this man.
Yeah.
How dare?
Roll me intimidation. Roll me intimidation real quick. Go on.
Yeah.
Do it. Get his ass.
Intimidation. Okay.
Come
Might like
on,
adding
come
items on this
on.
as well, just for the fun of it, because I really want this to go well.
I want it to go well as well. Yeah.
Take a bardic inspiration.
Bardic, yeah.
Yes,
is that
add
an
it,
8 or
please.
6? A D8?
That's an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Come on, 8. Roll high.
1.
That's pretty good. I mean, like, yeah.
21.
There's a
So yeah,
20.
21 intimidation.
The prosecutor.
He's just glaring daggers at this man.
Yeah, the prosecutor somehow seems to, like, dissolve slightly. He looks very cowed, but only for a moment. He does recover, but I will tell you, like, he's thoroughly intimidated and is now going to be avoiding making eye contact with Ida.
He better.
In the meantime, the bronze Bushido does something quite extraordinary. It unscrews his head and takes it off.
Uh-oh.
Whoa, what?
Oh, okay.
Recalling data,
Cool.
recalling data, and places it on the table and plays something. And hopefully this will work.
Oh my god.
There's no audio, hence the text for it. So this is the first piece of footage that you are shown at the relevant time he has deduced for you.
Sorry if I'm just sort of being quiet. I'm just looking through
I'm
that.
watching it too.
It's fine, take your time.
Yeah, I've watched it a couple times now.
The judge seems quite pleased about this and the fact that they happen to have a big white sheet hung up for, projecting things onto, because I made that up earlier. Yes! And, yeah, the court is quite astonished, not least because, even though TV and movies does exist here, like, such an instantaneous form of projection and recording is like, that's pretty good, that's pretty modern. So, yeah, you actually have a piece of footage to back up this testimony. Would you like me to repeat my statement?
That would be very helpful.
Confirmative. Repeating. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the temple's inner gardens. I stood in front of the doorway to the inner sanctum, looking outwards. You have a query?
Yeah, actually, I don't suppose there was... Did you see anything there while you were standing in the doorway? Like, a step ladder, specifically.
Retrieving memory banks. Negative.
Okay.
At 7:27 p.m., I saw a shadow, and at 1/2 the hour, I heard the bell in town chime. I did not move for the entire duration. Sorry. It's hard being a robot. I suffered
Can
a
you describe
malfunction.
the shadow in more detail?
Shadow. And he actually presses something on his helmet and finds a new piece of footage for you, by which I mean I will find the correct URL to give you, and this will be much smoother in the playback because I'll have edited in. There you go. Here's your other piece of footage. So I will be quiet while you watch that.
Okay.
Let me know when you finish watching it too.
Mm-hmm. Sorry for the
Yeah, okay.
sorry for the typo with the
yeah.
T in there. I didn't mean that.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm done watching. You can...
Alright. So we see the shadow like kind of swoosh over, and then like something kind of like messes with his vision for a moment, and then there in the bottom corner there's some kind of error. And then it says recalibrating.
Mm-hmm. And the bronze Bushido stands there patiently for a moment and then says, Did you find everything to your satisfaction?
This shadow, it looks... Sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, hold it! So it looks like at some point the shadow kind of passes over you and messes with your vision, and then there's some kind of error. Can you explain that?
Statement on glitch. Confirmative. Will oblige. And he makes a statement about the glitch. My body was designed to be able to function even if parts are damaged or removed. Example. As you can see, my main body can function perfectly well without my head. Drawback. Occasionally, there can be an occipital disconnect as a result of this ability. Master would ordinarily run diagnostics, that's very hard to say, diagnostics after such occasions. Estimation. Murder took place post-malfunction. Reasoning. Time period during which my systems were offline is too short for the murder to have taken place in.
Right.
But would it have been long enough for somebody to sneak past you?
He stays quiet. He doesn't know the answer.
But all this is besides the point.
The prosecutor reminds you of his existence in a sort of greasy, pleading sort of a way, and says,
As you can see, this just confirms the time and the fact that the defendant could fly and entered the temple by doing so. Objection. Pardon? I said objection. But why?
he looks betrayed because the witness is objecting. This isn't supposed to happen.
I think we should hear your good friend, the Bronze Bushido, out.
I did not move for the entire time. As I have stated, I did not move.
But they might have snuck in down behind you.
I am very tall. So basically, what the Bronze Bushido is saying is that he didn't move the entire time, and he was standing in the doorway the whole last time.
Right. In other words, nobody could have easily, like, snuck past him, even if he was, like, briefly malfunctioning for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Can I lean over and ask Alibi something?
Absolutely. I'm not sure if he'll be able to help, but you can.
You don't have any, like, short-range teleportation powers, do you?
I only wish that I did. No, I definitely do not have those.
Well, okay, no, that's good. That's okay,
good.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm glad of my shortcomings. Thank you.
Anyway, okay. How else could somebody have gotten into the temple? They couldn't go past Bronze Bushido.
I will say there's like...
To our knowledge, that's like the only way in.
It is. I'll just confirm that it's the only entrance and exit from the inner sanctum, which is why it's the inner sanctum. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a doozy, this one. But I will say that he's made quite a few statements. You might be able to press on some of them to get more information.
Let's go on to the next statement then.
Okay, I will ask which, bit of his testimony would you like me to repeat? Because he made his initial statement, and then he talked about the glitch.
For now, I guess we could go back to the initial statement.
Okay. I can go back and forth any number of times, especially with this guy because he's a robot. Okay. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the temple's inner gardens. No? No question? Okay.
Could someone have already been in the inner sanctum at the time?
He processes
Aside from
this.
Bushido.
He processes this, and you can hear sort of cogs whirring, and says, one person.
Just Mr. Ito, then.
Mm-hmm. You good with that? I can keep going?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I stood in front of the doorway to the inner sanctum looking outward. At 7:27 p.m., I saw a shadow
And at 1/2 the hour, I heard the bell in town chime. I did not move for the entire duration.
So there's the 3-minute gap in between him seeing the shadow and the bell chiming we saw in the footage.
Right.
Something could have happened like during those 3 minutes. We're just not sure what.
Yeah.
Okay, I shall keep going. I suffered a malfunction at 7:45 p.m. Total reset. Yeah, total system reset.
Hold it. And that was, I mean, from the footage, it looks like that was because you were knocked into the water from behind, I would assume?
He looks like he has another malfunction. He kind of jolts a bit, and you're a bit surprised because he's just been staying very stable and still. And he says, confidential information. Recall sigil was activated. Return to base to await repairs and further orders.
Witness, this is a court of law. We need the whole truth. If you have it, please don't keep anything confidential.
Proof. You must present evidence as to what? He looks a bit panicked. If a robot can look panicked. Basically, he's asking, like, basically, he wants you to show proof that water could affect him.
There was it said water in the error of the bit where you felt where the glitch where the malfunction happened. It said water error.
And he seems to shudder. He's like, permission protocol from master required.
Master? Like, the person who built you?
Confirmative. Master built me.
And who is this master that built you?
Error. And this is clearly confidential information. In fact, he's glitched out so much he starts talking about his glitch again. My body was designed to be able to function even if parts are damaged, or removed.
So, so it's possible that it was only your head that was knocked into the water, I suppose, but...
Confirmative example, as you see. No, not just, entire physical body.
Okay.
It said fatal error when it like it looked like he fell into the water, but if that was just the head,
Right,
unless he's lying about that part.
Recall sigil was activated. Return to base to await repairs and further orders. And because he's glitching out so much, he actually starts playing another piece of footage that you haven't seen entirely. So it will look very familiar, but it keeps playing for a little longer than he probably meant it to. So I shall give you this.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. I recognize that.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Did you find
Yeah,
everything
I don't
to
know
your
if we have to, like, present something
satisfaction?
specific.
Sorry, what was that, Ida?
I was gonna say, like, do we need to present something specific, or can we just like point out that like what that looked like?
You can make an inquiry. Is there anything else that can help you with your inquiries?
Did your recall sigil take you to the shop owned by Mr. Hat?
yeah, again, there's a lot of spinning and bleeping and wires sparking, and he looks a bit like he's gonna go critical, and the judge dives down behind his desk, like, oh shit, what's going on?
Yep.
And it looks like you're, like, basically on the verge of cracking this case open, or, like, this little bit of the case open. I want you to, like, if you can't already guess, make an intelligence roll or check. Or even
And I
wisdom.
figured it out, but I'm not sure if my character needs to.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, do we still need to roll even if like the players have figured it out?
I don't know. I think that's up to you. I think that's really a player decision. Reverse Uno card.
I think like that last part like would be pretty obvious.
I think so. I think so.
All right. Wait a minute. So what it is? Bronze Bushido is really incredible, Mr. Hat.
There's a sort of what from around the place, because everybody knows the Incredible Mr. Hat, and the Bronze Bushido sort of does a sort of kaboom explosion, but puts himself back together slightly, and then sort of folds over and says, "Failure
Was supposed to be big secret.
Well, witness, how would you prefer to be addressed from now on? Bronze Bushido or Incredible Mr. Hat? Which?
Oh well, either one is work.
Okay. So, are you now able to tell us about the water damage that caused you to teleport back to your shop?
Durable. My body has significant weakness, which criminal must have taken advantage of. Confidential material. I do not know how the perpetrator knew of it.
And that weakness is water?
Mm-hmm. Can you figure out how the perpetrator figured it out? You do have a piece of evidence.
Maybe like that for.
Oh. Can I take that, and I'll present the newspaper clipping
Bing!
that was
You are
given to
correct.
us by
There we go.
Roy.
Mm-hmm. And what about this particular article is it that you think translates to knowing that he has a weakness to water?
The fact that he suddenly teleported away that time as well. Like there's a flash of light and then he was gone.
Yes. Can you see anything that might give that away?
Could it be, is it the clouds? Are those rain clouds or something? Or-
Indeed.
Okay.
There is also, you could have asked to look at the reverse, which has a weather report, and there were severe heavy rains when this took place.
Ooh. Of course, we have to flip over the paper.
Yeah, you gotta rotate the evidence.
Always forget to turn the paper over.
Always turn the
Just to
paper
confirm,
over.
when I turn over the poster. As well. Can I turn over
At
the
least it's in
poster as
character
well?
for him.
So yes, everyone is astonished. You have unveiled the secret identity of the Bronze Bushido, or rather the other form of the Bronze Bushido. When he basically explains this in the voice, which is very difficult for me to do, so I'm just going to talk normally. When he has a critical failure, which, the perpetrator probably didn't know this, but when he has a critical failure, he beams back to the shop, which is basically his base, to await diagnostics being run by his master and being fixed if that's necessary. It's like a super emergency thing. If you look at the Bronze Bushido's chest plate, if you scroll back up and have a look at that, it's an upside down top hat. It's not very well
nice.
drawn. I was kind of praying you wouldn't notice. But yeah, that's his emergency sigil that will activate and teleport him, basically. So yeah, he slumps and looks kind of defeated. Master would not be happy.
Um, so from after you were knocked into from behind from 7:45 onward, you were no longer obstructing door because you were teleported back, obviously.
I
Well,
also,
because-
I feel like I'm being a bit mean to you, but I'm going to give you a few pieces of information to jog your memories. So, the Bronze Bushido has several times now said or stated that he didn't move, and you have the footage to support that. He stayed in the doorway, or assumes he did, the entire time. But this is, in itself, a contradiction. Why is that a contradiction?
Because he wasn't in the
Because
doorway the
no
whole
one-
time.
Is there a particular item in, say, the court record that, you know, in itself embodies this contradiction?
The stepladder?
Do you think it could be? So how is that there at the same time?
Hold it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have been in the doorway the whole time. There was a stepladder set up there.
Step, ladder of steps.
Yeah, the stepladder. It's the ladder with the little thing on the back that folds out.
Objection! This is the first time I'm hearing of this ladder or step ladder or whatever of the two it might happen to be. Where does this step ladder come in?
It was positioned over the threshold of the entrance to the temple last
When
night.
we found it, it had been knocked into the water.
In the water? You mean the pond outside? The judge looks quite astonished. That is not a good place to keep a ladder, it would get rusty.
Yes, I imagine it was not intentionally placed there.
Well, in the future, Mr. Left, I expect you to take better care of your gardening equipment.
First of all, it's not my stepladder, and second of all, I didn't knock it into the water.
Well then, who did and why?
The murderer, presumably, and I don't know.
But that's impossible. The bronze Bushido was in the doorway the whole time. Are you suggesting that someone could even just push this mighty figure of metal into a pond?
Remember, you've
But
got
you can't
those
have-
inspiration points if you need them.
Yeah, I'll spend one. I've got two, so it's fine.
Okay. I will repeat a very critical part of the testimony. My body was designed to be able to function even if parts are damaged or removed. Example, as you can see, my main body can function perfectly well without my head.
Oh, could it have just... Bronze Bushido, was your whole body there that night, or was just your head perhaps perched on top of the stepladder?
Running diagnostics. Brr, brr, brr. Disconnect.
And he looks a bit surprised and repeats, disconnect. Could not access body protocols from 7:30 to 7:45.
So it was just the head
Oh, so-
then.
But only after the shadow and the glitch.
Would you like to make a grand deduction?
That means during the glitch, maybe they took. So maybe during the glitch, they removed the head and put it on the stepladder so that he would think that. Or, so the footage would make it look like his body was still there, but it wasn't.
Yeah, baby!
But then,
Yeah, baby!
but then how did they move his body?
Well, you may need to ask some more about this thing. You know, like you have the expert right in front of you.
his body can teleport, so
I will
maybe
say
hit the body somewhere, and then when the teleport activated, then the whole thing teleported.
Oh, that's quite clever. I hadn't actually thought of that. Ignore me. I wouldn't get too confused by that just yet, but you have you habeas corpus the bronze Bushido right now, so you could get him to talk a bit more about that.
Bronze Bushido, is there any way that your body could have been moved between between 7:28 and 7:30?
I shall give more information for deduction.
And he does.
My master, my creator, he made me to protect good people and fight bad people. Many of my systems are automated so that my body can respond to an attack before it hits me. Several of my automatic abilities have been shown on television.
He looks very pleased about this.
But they are somewhat inaccurate.
He looks sad.
When I was in training, Master used to pilot me himself.
So, if your body detected it was under attack, it might move towards the source of that attack in an attempt to counterattack it, but then that might lead to you leaving your post at the door.
Difficult to say, second answer, but first, absolutely yes.
I'll just repeat those in case you want to press on a particular part. So he says again,
my master was my creator. He made me to protect good people and fight bad people. Many of my systems are automated, so my body can respond to an attack before it hits. Several of my automatic abilities have been shown on television, though they are somewhat inaccurate.
Hold it. Which ones specifically are inaccurate?
3 special moves. The Nigiri Knockout, the Udon Restraint, the Sarashimi Suplex.
And which of those moves would be most likely to activate if, say, something was flying at your head?
May I demonstrate?
Sure. Do you want someone to throw something at you?
Oh please.
and yes, he's absolutely asking you to throw something at him. He's quite excited now.
Alright, Ida takes his sandal off, and Ida takes off one of her sandals and throws it at his head.
Nigiri Knockout.
And whilst saying this attack, he uses his staff, not pictured, because it's one of those things where it's a tiny stick and then it goes whoop, and it's a big stick. And he uses the staff to hit the flying object horizontally so that it flies back directly at you. Please make a dex save.
No.
Oh, man.
Aw.
Y'all brought this on yourself. 15. That's all right.
15.
Yeah, you duck out the way just in time, and La Chancla hits the back of the wall behind you, and doesn't KO, but everyone in the crowd goes whoa.
Yeah, no, Ida stands back up and she's like clearing and cheering and clapping too. Like, yeah, that was so cool.
Would you like to see another?
Yeah, sure. Where should I throw something at you this time?
I mean, if you throw something at him again, he's going to do the Nigiri Knockout again. That's basically his response to a flying missile attack.
Okay. Darn it.
The other two he listed, just so you can remember, were the Udon Restraint and the Sarashimi Suplex.
Try maybe charging at him like a person charging at him instead.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Prosecutor Jazz, I don't suppose you would mind just running at your friend there?
I would really prefer not to, thank you very much. I'm more of the intellectual sort, you see.
You're gonna have to roll, like, max persuasion if you want him to do it.
All right. Well, I'm not bad at that.
No,
so
you're
let's
not.
see.
Oh,
Ah,
god damn.
Right.
All
Can you
right.
throw a guidance on that to make it a little more?
Yeah, sure, go on.
yeah, can I have a guidance?
21.
All right, 21.
It's over a 20. I'm gonna make it happen. He gets booed, and come on, from the gallery, and the peer pressure is too much. He says,
All right, fine. For the interest of science and proving that your defendant is guilty, I'm not sure how, but I will do it fine.
and he sort of does running on the spot. There is towards the bronze Bushido, who uses the udon restraint, and you know how they have that big knot on the back of the bronze Bushido and other similar looking creations.
Yes.
So the knot undoes itself and unfurls, and it constricts him.
Huh.
It doesn't do
And-
anything else. It just holds him still, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the prosecutor goes,
Thank you. That was very informative.
That's working fine. Uncle.
I think the bronze Bushido does allow him to be plopped back onto the ground.
Yeah.
And the suplex, how does that one activate?
Sarashimi Suplex. It is a special move. It is for knocking people out but not hurting them too badly.
And under what circumstances would that activate?
Oh, well, this would happen.
I'm sorry, Mr. Left. You want to make a dex save?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So my bonus 3 for Dex. Yes, it is. Okay, let's roll the thingy.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a 12. I rolled a
Hey.
12.
Hey, buddy. So he's got hold of you, and I don't know if you know what a suplex is, but yeah, he's wrapped his arms.
I do.
He's wrapped his arms around your chest, and he bends over backwards, and he does it really good because he's a robot. And I think just because I don't want to kill you, I'm gonna give Ida a chance to throw something soft on the ground where your head's gonna hit.
I think I might have a blanket in my inventory. Yeah, I do. She has a blanket, so
Go
she
for it.
like puts like a folded blanket onto the ground just to like cushion the fall.
Good. I'm not gonna make you take any damage because that would be awful. But it's pretty funny because yeah, you get full on. Yeah. You get suplexed and you bounce. I think your hair protects you, like the spikes somehow. Like deflect the
Yeah,
blow.
there's just so much hair gel that it's like a helmet.
Exactly.
And interestingly, you land lying on your back.
Interesting.
Have you
Do
seen
I?
something like that before? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a body that was lying on its back. I sure have. Bronze Bushido, if something unexpectedly approached you from behind, would the suplex trigger?
Negative. I have to take hold of person.
Okay.
Only if they're coming at them from the front.
When I was in training, Master used to pilot me himself, but since then, more machinery has been put inside me.
So in other words, no one would be able to climb inside you now unless they took out that machinery.
Processing. Negative. Toonkind. Principle of squash
But
and
Toonkind
stretch.
could.
So a tune could fit inside of you and pilot you.
Theoretically.
Okay.
At this point, I think the prosecution has recovered and gaspingly chimes in with a
Objection! Your Honor, this is all very interesting, I'm sure, but none of it proves that it wasn't the defendant who yanked off the bronze Bushido's head and then controlled the body. In fact, If this is how the attack was exacted, it further proves that Mr. Miohn-Rouls intended to murder Shibito all along.
Hold it. We still haven't seen any proof that our client was the one doing this. As we said earlier, if the Kitsune theory is correct, it could be anyone who was there that night flying.
And how do you explain the presence of those fox hairs at the scene?
I guess a spirit wouldn't leave hair behind, huh?
And I have to remind you that, the tail hairs did identify positively as alibis. Interestingly, just at this point, I think I'm going to be cheeky, and on the autopsy report, you see a little postscript, which, again, like, DNA isn't really being accepted. So as well as the fact as there being, like, two different kinds of blood at the scene, one being real kind and one being Toonkind, the tail hairs, there is a note that they appear to be more like Hausen than anything else, which you guys understand because it's a fake tail.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, this doesn't prove anything because, you can't present this as actual proof. It's annoying, I know.
Yeah. Well, and even if we did, that would just show that, it was him there. But,
So here's a question. Here's the thing. If somebody did go climb inside you and pilot you, could we search, like, inside your chest cavity to see if there's any sign left behind there?
Is a bit personal.
Oh,
but this
sorry.
This is a matter of justice, Mr. Bushido. We're trying to determine who is the guilty party here, and
Processing.
In order to... I'm trying to think of a word that means enter, which sounds robotic. Access. In order to access my innards, you will need the password master's name.
huh.
Oh, so they'd have to know the name of your master in order to get inside your chest cavity.
And I suppose you can't just tell us who your master is.
Negative. I can say that I am a defender of truth and justice, and so was my master, no matter who he used to be.
Used to be? What do you mean by that?
Shibito?
Access granted.
And his chest opens.
What?
At this point, I want you two to do a little journey for me because, you basically ignored the prosecutor, which is hilarious, because that was basically one of the points where you might have had to choose to prove that Alibi was swan song to prove he's innocent, but you don't, and you don't have to. So we're gonna go on a little mind blast journey. You know that thing where the screen goes blue and you kind of go, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're figuring out all the shit. Okay, so here's the thing. Question number 1. What was the aim of this crime?
To steal the Eye of Truth.
Was it, though? Think about it.
Or I think the aim might have actually been to murder Shibito.
Ah, but if that's true, why even bother with the Eye of Truth?
So that
Well-
they'd be able to get away with it without the Eye of Truth, like, making them tell the truth.
Yeah, baby, to remove the effects of the Eye of Truth. So, like, if the Zone of Truth was still active, people couldn't lie. But the villain could have just fled town. Was there anything else that could have been achieved by hiding the true culprit?
Framing Alibi.
Hey! Someone's firing on all 4 cylinders. The false accusal of Alibi! The crime was designed not just to kill Shibito, but also to frame Alibi Miohn-Rouls. You need to find someone that has a motive to frame Alibi Miohn-Rouls and kill Shibito.
Roy? I mean, Shib robbed Roy, and then Alibi had a too good night at the casino, but that's kind of flimsy.
Right. That would imply that, like, because Swan Song was actually the person who did that. So that would imply that the person behind this knows that Swan Song and Alibi are the same person.
Right, I forgot. Okay, yeah, so that's not. Or. Huh.
I will give you a bit of a help by giving you a bit of a hindrance. While you're having this brain surge, you see the interior of the bronze Bushido, and there isn't much there, but there is a tiny bit of blood. Like, you know, you can see all these cogs, but there is almost, like, you can see where there used to be the pilot suit that was built into this robot, but there's too much machinery for a human being to be in there. But even if a Toonkind got in there, there's, like, a lot of moving gears and stuff. Like, so it looks like they got a bit nicked while they were in there. And, but just desperation on his face. The prosecutor said,
Objection! Your Honor, I must insist that we reach a verdict. None of this proves that it was not Alibi himself that conducted this heinous crime. In fact, look at him. He's clearly a Toonkind.
And the judge looks very contemplative. So, go on.
So am I. I could have been the one inside the suit.
Yeah. But the fact is, like, hairs were found at the scene, so that's pretty compelling evidence.
Yeah.
And the judge thinks for a moment.
That is,
The judge is contemplative, and then he states, unless there is a point that has not been fully explained to my satisfaction, I will have to say that the case is closed. So, Mr. Left, is there anything that you feel we have overlooked along the way that has not been fully explained, or maybe explained in a different way?
we haven't yet explained the markings on the victim's chest.
Negative. That was probably my body, holding it very tightly.
Okay, we haven't yet determined the actual cause of death.
Exactly.
Ah, yes, those five...
It wasn't blood force trauma, and it wasn't water.
Those 5 little marks. And Alibi actually kind of leans over and says, can I have a look at that?
Sure.
He looks kind of like it's reminding him of something, but he really can't remember what it is. He's like, I'm sorry, there's something in the back of my memory, and I feel like I tried to get rid of it, actually. What was that? And there's various things swimming around in your brain. There's actually something from right at the beginning that you almost called my bullshit on straight away, and I was like, oh god. So there was something right at the beginning that the prosecutor offered a theory on, but it hasn't actually been proven.
Well, there's the ice thing, but then there was us, like, was that we thought that maybe that the Eye of Truth was used as for blunt force trauma.
Good points to you.
And they didn't find any shards.
The shards. So Prosecutor Jazz sort of convinced everybody that they were made from ice. But is that true? So the judge seems to think right now that the ice theory is compelling enough. But is it? Because what was your other theory? If they weren't made of ice, how did they manage to disappear from the scene? That's basically what you may have to explain.
Do we don't see any shards, like, inside the bronze Bushido's chest cavity, do we?
No, you don't, but you're right up close to him, actually. And you have 2 visuals of the bronze Bushido. Can you spot the difference? Is there any difference that you might be able to see? Especially Ida, you are very into this guy, so you would probably notice this. If you can't see it yourself, I could get you to roll perception with advantage.
And look between the 2, there is, like, the red thing, like, on his, kind of belt.
Mm-hmm.
And is it cracked? I'm not sure by the art, but is that part cracked?
You can investigate it.
Okay, then I'll roll investigation on, the little red, thing on his belt.
Okay. Oh, baby.
Wow, 23.
23. It is indeed cracked. And you notice that there's a little latch on the outside of this sort of belt buckle, and you click it, and you can extract a red orb, or at least a partially red orb. It looks like it might have been clear.
But it's covered in blood.
Part of it.
Oh.
Is this the Eye of Truth?
Allow me
It's
to
all
have
red.
a
Is
look.
this blood?
Oh, I think it is. Umi has come over to have a look because she's the expert and says, "This is a travesty. It has been shattered."
Wow.
Which means the shards in the water were not ice. But
We're
then,
part of the crystal.
but then how could they have been removed?
After I found him, the only people
looks like
watching the
most of it-
scene were the police and the detective, so I dread to think. And the judge looks very grave and says, "Mr. Left, do you wish to formally indict someone of removing evidence from the scene?"
It's kind of seems
Yes,
like
I
only-
think-
Yeah.
I think Sam must have done it, right? Because I don't think it was Bumpy Matter Princess.
Yeah, I mean, who do you want to call to the stand? I will say, like, you can call both if you want. Put me through my paces.
I mean, I'll confer with Ida. Do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, it could have been either of them. They were both like on the case as police, so it could have been either. Maybe it would be easier to just call them both up to the stand.
That's true. I just, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a greatest attorney. Multiple witnesses on the stand. Let's go.
Yeah, baby, you know it's an option. Okay, so after quite a lot of protesting on both their parts, Bumpy Matter Princess and Yurazan take the stand at the same time, and they're standing like back to each other, but not like supporting each other. They're both like, it's totally that guy, no, it's that guy, no, it's her, no, it's him. You can tell already this is going to be bad. So I guess you're going to like ask them about the scene of the crime, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
What happened to the shards?
I don't know, but like, well, Yuro-san was the first at the scene because he's like the police officer. But then I took that sweet selfie after he'd been already. Ah, see, she admits it. Must have been this floating jello that took the evidence, because, you know, it was still there when she was there. Hey, you're just jelly that you don't get this jelly. Anyway, there weren't no bleeding footprints on the stairs down to the inner sanctum, right? And BMP is the only one here that's floating.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, because like, shouldn't there been some? Because we did see that like the police weren't careful, and they stepped all over like the muddy part in front of the stairs. But shouldn't there have been a few footprints like when the police went down there? Unless those got washed off.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
Do you want to
No.
say something to point that out?
Yep, go ahead.
Right. Hold it. Saw that there were a whole bunch of muddy footprints in front of the inner sanctum because the police weren't super careful about not leaving footprints there. But the stairs, there weren't any at all. If Yuro-san went down on the steps, shouldn't he have left some footprints? Unless they were washed away, that is.
Well, it's simple. I used my pogo stick to go down there, didn't I? Because I was trying to be as quick as possible. Probably didn't leave a mark because I only got a small bit of it to bounce off the ground, hadn't I?
The pogo stick was back at the inn the last we saw.
We saw him in the stables.
He does like an enormous take, and he looks quite put out actually, and he bangs the table.
Ah, shut up! So what? Even if I can get down there without touching the floor, doesn't mean I did it, do it? Where's your evidence it was me that took those shots, eh? Where's that?
Again, remember, if you need to have a hint coin, or even a break. Like, we could take another little break if you want to keep going for this last little bit, but honestly, you're like super close. You're super, super close.
And right now I'm just looking at the court record.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
Fine. Absolutely. Meanwhile, whilst you're doing this, Alibi has started flipping through that book that Mr. Hat gave you, just because he's bored. He's like this. I'm sorry. You want to, if you're like having a bit of a little bit of a brain stoppage, do you want to roll perception?
That'd be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Perception. Right.
We're close to the end. I'll give you a second bardic inspiration on that because you're
Ooh.
much more likely to succeed than I am.
I don't know, that's a 9. But...
So 12.
And 12 isn't great. Like, are you sure, Mr.
well.
Left? You don't want to just roll and see what luck does for you?
Yeah, I'll roll. I'm proficient in that, so I get a bonus.
Yeah, okay.
15.
Yeah, I mean, 15. I will give you that. As Alibi is flipping through, he seems to stop rather suddenly and looks kind of sick.
Have you seen something, Mr. Miohn-Rouls?
Nothing, no, I mean, they're just a bunch of silly old rocks, aren't they? And on the double spread page, there's quite a few different gems. With a 15, you can tell, though, that his finger has stopped on one that is it's small and shiny and blue.
Is it the Seeing Stone?
It is not the Seeing Stone. However, thinking about the Seeing Stone does make you think about, things that show themselves as what was but what isn't, and you remember that you have the stone all of a sudden in your pocket. And because you do, it's been suppressed because of the room that you're in, but you feel that warm sort of reaction to it, when it's picking up something.
I'll take it out and just glance through it.
This is weird. This is really weird. You look through it, and again, as we've established, living things don't really show on this. You get, like, the weird sensation of blurs, because this is an old courthouse, and many people have been through here, and there's a sort of vague haze of, like, myriads of hands and faces and forms, but none of them register as objects. However, objects in this room do, and you are seeing an object exactly where Urasan is. Floating in midair, there is a small, shiny blue stone. It's kind of heart-shaped, but it's upside down. It's very strange. And that registers.
Heart-shaped? Oh,
It's
God.
blue.
Oh, God.
Oh.
And again, you feel very cold for some
And it's
reason.
very cold. Oh, no.
And it was misty
Oh,
outside, and
no.
that's just very
Character.
strange.
Oh, no.
And has nothing to do with what's happening, surely. Absolutely not.
And there's the blue heart-shaped stone that I know nothing about because I'm Griffin Left and not Doc Acme. Is that what Alibi is pointing at?
Yeah, Alibi seems to not like that page, and in fact turns the page. But then he sort of takes a breath and he says, I remember where I know that pattern from.
A pattern.
On the body. She did it to me.
Who did it? Who did what to you?
And he's gone very quiet. He's gone very, very quiet. And Urasan is glaring at him. And he seems too scared to speak. You're gonna have to figure something out.
Urasan, could you come take a look at this book for me? There's an image that I think might be interesting to you.
Urasan crosses his arms and says, No, I don't feel like it. You ain't proven that I was down there, that I done anything wrong, and if you can't, he's guilty. Isn't that right, Mr. Judge? I think I got that right, haven't I? And the judge looks a bit affronted, but says, yes, that's true, I suppose. Yes, no, it's true. It's about time. I have an appointment, and I don't want to keep my wife waiting.
Hold on a second, Your Honor. About the Blue Hand Gang.
The what?
When they... it's a group of thieves that Shibito used to belong to.
What relevance
and
has
when
this to the
they-
case at hand? I must object.
Okay, well, in a moment, let me listen to him first. Go on, Mr. Left.
The proprietor of the casino has told us that a previous casino of hers was robbed by this gang. And when they do so, they presented a small stone that was glowing, and it caused them to feel caused her to feel cold and to lose her memories. I believe it is the same stone in this book here, and I believe that stone may be in this courtroom with us.
In this courtroom? But what? How is this relevant to the case at hand, Mr. Left? You must make your case.
I believe if that stone is in the possession of Yura-san, I wish to search Yura-san for it.
Hey,
And
what?
that will...
I object. Again, this ain't relevant. I don't care if I do have that stone. It's nothing to do with this case. You can't prove that it's anything to do with this case. If you could think of something that might be on my possession that was relevant, then maybe I will let you have a look-see, but you ain't got nothing on me.
The shards, then. Can we search for the shards?
Oh, absolutely. I ain't got them.
At least what
Oh, what was that, Ida?
I was gonna say, yeah, because we're suspecting them both. It makes sense to search them for the shards.
I will say that you're almost there. I will remind you that more than the shards were left at the scene, and in fact, like, basically your argument for him, being the culprit is that he's removed those shards. He wouldn't keep them on him, he would have disposed of them.
Right.
But he did leave
course.
something behind.
Stepladder?
Oh, I wish it was the
No.
stepladder. I will say that basically, you're looking at a very, very small thing, and it shows up in one of the pictures with, like, it was where the shards were.
Bloodstain?
The bloodstain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Can we test Yuro-san's blood to see if it matches that found at the scene?
Yuro-san looks a bit perplexed. Like, he doesn't understand what that means. He's like, what, is this more of that foreign sick stuff? I don't want to get foreign sickness, thanks very much, no. And the judge says, unfortunately, Mr. Left, I am afraid the DNA, as of this moment, is not presentable in court as evidence. On the other hand, I will point out the very obvious thing, which is, if blood was left at the scene, how did it get out there?
Can we at least search him for a wound, then?
This makes Yuro-san look very uncomfortable.
Because we haven't tested the blood that was on the shards that were found on the bronze Bushido. To see if it's like Toonkind. I mean, it's inadmissible still, but
He starts, like, sweating, definitely using the sweating sprite right now. And he says, oh, stuff it. And it suddenly goes very cold in this room. Like, really, really cold. And something very alarming happens to his face, which appears to split open. And this pair of bat ears kind of unfold up, and his arms go all loosey-goosey, and her fingers grow into very long stabby things that, one could almost imagine would make a pattern if they entered one's body, which they may have done.
Well, I was getting bored anyway, so let's have at it, eh?
And Spinny L is back in town, baby. And I think we'll have to leave that for another game because conflict takes a while. But you got there in the end. It was Yuri-san, but they're also a vampire freaking thing, and it's kind of scary. And I'm sorry, like, I couldn't give you more clues leading up to that. I was kind of hoping that you would both guess ahead of time because I'm so cheap with these villains. But yeah, we'll explain more about theirs and hows and whys when we come back to it. Yeah.
Left is super not good at combat. Oh no.
At least, Ida's more a support. Like, she might have a couple of things, but yeah, this is gonna be tricky.
Yeah. I will say in my
one
defense if
damaging
you
spell that it's a cantrip.
Yeah, I will say in my defense, if you had a proper look at the Book of Gems that Mr. Hat gave you, I would have put the blue spinel in the listings of things that you could read about.
Oh.
But you didn't investigate, so never mind. Anyway, I hope this wasn't too much of a cheap shot.
No, this is like,
Nope.
I did not expect this twist. This is crazy.
Oh no.
I managed to get a kitsune in it, I managed to get the stepladder in it, and I got a psychotic thing that you can beat the shit out of next week. So, okay, we'll call it
Or
then.
vice versa.
Or vice versa, we never know. We'll find out. Well, it might be next month rather than next week. Definitely next month, not next week. I'm busy. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck. I'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. By the way, anyone listening to this, I really hope you've listened to the hard advice before this. Otherwise, this will make no sense. Never mind. Okay, goodbye.